Hello and welcome to my very first live broadcast. Figured I'd just give World of Warcraft a try. Been away from WoW for most of a year now and figured I'd come back, and I just got the achievements for the allied races and thought I'd give one of them a try. I may as well just get myself set up quick here. Grab my Lucid Nightmare. I love the look of this mount. And you don't see too many people with it. That's one thing I like about it. I may as well put my Headless Horseman's on there later on once I get flying. I like the portable repair and vendor with that Grand Expedition yak. And can't go wrong with the Water Strider for water-based areas. And I may as well put my Fathom Dweller on there in case I go underwater later, like Vashir or something. Alrighty. Where the heck do I want to level today? It's been so long since I've played. I'm thinking maybe Duskwood or something. Been playing WoW since about February of 2005, and I think I took a break from the game twice now, for about a year at a shot, and then I always end up coming back. I already pre-ordered, obviously, BFA, so I could play the allied races, give those a try. Maybe next stream I'm thinking of trying out a Horde character. I've been predominantly Alliance, actually. I do have a second server that I have several Horde characters on. But I only have one of them at max level. The rest of them are sitting anywhere between 60 and 90, most likely. Yeah, I picked up the game one day when I saw my uncle playing it, and I had pretty crappy internet at the time, and gave it a try from my parents' basement a long time ago. Yeah, I fell in love with it. I was always a big fan of Warcraft 3. Pretty awesome game, and I liked the lore of Illidan and Arthas and whatnot. Figured, oh, well, this is a no-brainer.
Go with honor, friend.
I only started my channel about 3 days ago, and I've just been uploading some quick gameplay footage of just 2 games so far. One from the Sega Master System, 1989, called Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap. It was one of my favorites growing up. It was a little bit Metroidvania, a little bit not quite completely linear. And then my next series that I'm working on as we speak is the original Half-Life. I'm playing the original engine, though. Wanted to give that a try, and then maybe in a later playthrough I was going to give Black Mesa a try, that remake that's being done. I don't know yet if they've finished the Zen levels yet. I think it's still in early access. I used to love questing in Duskwood a lot back in vanilla. Every time somebody unleashed Stitches, it was chaos. Most people just were getting slaughtered left, right, and center. Half the time a large group of players would gather up on the road and try and stop him before he hits town, and most of the time he would slaughter everyone until a high level showed up to save our butts. And sometimes if that high level was alone, they still got their butt handed to them by Stitches. Yeah, another thing I miss about Vanilla WoW was how much content there really was in the game, and how much it forced you to explore the world. If you picked up a quest somewhere, like say here in Duskwood, you might end up being sent somewhere into Kalimdor, and then your next follow-up one would be would be probably somewhere in, say, Moonglade, and then you're going down to Silithus, etc. Like, it was really awesome how it forced you to explore and learn the world.
Need help? Well met. For the Alliance.
I'll try out this spatial rift. Haven't seen it in action. Okay.
Well met.
Sort
See
of
you
like
around.
a teleport you can control yourself for how
Need
far you
something?
travel.
How are you?
Presuming you have
Have
the
a good
time to wait for it. Might not be as helpful in PvP.
King's honor, friend. Light bless you.
If anything about the volume doesn't quite sound right to anyone, just let me know in the comments. I'll take a peek at the comments every now and then. I don't have a second monitor set up. I need a DVI and an HDMI adapter to set up my second monitor. Otherwise, I'm currently just turning around once in a while and checking my other computer. Yeah, I'm running it pretty primitive right now. Been gaming since the mid-'80s, actually. I never owned a game system for a long time. I was always just one of those go out and explore and get dirty in the mud types of kids. And, well, then one day my parents picked up a Sega Master System and, yeah, about 8 games for it. And I kind of started to fall in love with gaming, and one of my new friends who was across the street had an Atari system and an NES. And, well, from there it was starting to go all downhill for me. Became a gamer next thing you know. I think I am going to turn on auto loot. Used to really enjoy the mystery of the Worgen in this zone back in the day. All that mystery about those dark riders and jitters and the Jorgen and farm and whatnot. It was always such a mystery, and then they finally elaborated upon that later on with Legion, with some of those artifact quests that made you hunt stuff down. But then when they introduced the Worgen, they kind of retconned a little bit of the lore or whatever with a loon and everything, and just kind of seemed a little different. Still works though. Yeah, I wanted to give a warlock a try here. Haven't touched a warlock character in a very long time. I've been, aside from my break, I was mostly actually maining as a demon hunter. I've actually quite enjoyed the class. Mostly Vengeance. I find it's a very self-sustaining tank class. Especially with the self-heals from fire damage and a little bit of leech. Works wonders. Hope my playstyle isn't annoying to anyone right now. Yes, I'm occasionally a clicker. I don't always use the number keys. Some people find that to be a grievous sin. Yeah, I can't wait for the classic servers to come out. I remember mobs being a lot deadlier than this, that's for sure. Half the time you had to have one or two stacks of food and water on you just to make it through one zone, let alone health potions. Although I didn't usually have to worry about the health potions too much. I mained as a Holy Priest back in vanilla. I was brand new to the game and quite the noob. Didn't know what I was doing about anything, and I was wondering why my Holy Spec Priest was getting so many friends and invites to dungeons and whatnot. I actually didn't realize how much healers were sought after it when I first started the game. And let me tell you, it was slow leveling. Well, vanilla was slow leveling regardless, but leveling as a Holy Priest in vanilla, wow, that was brutally slow. I think it took me almost 2 months to hit 60. But it sped up by the time I hit around level 52 when I was getting millions of invites to like Blackrock Depths and whatnot every single day. I even I really wanted to just do everything solo when I first started the game, and I avoided joining any guild until I was level 32 when some people who were always inviting me on runs decided they wanted me in their guild, and yeah, I stuck with a guild on the Elderthloth server for a long time, and we became one of the top 10 raiding guilds. We were one of the first to clear Blackwing Lair, and man, beating our heads against Veilastraz and Razorgore, man. We had some good times doing that, though. Some damn good times. After a while, I decided I wanted to give some other characters a try. I did a bit of Paladin first. It was okay, but didn't do too much with it. It was my Marksman Hunter that I played a lot of. Ended up starting him off in Zul'Gurub, the 20-man raid of the time, and getting him geared up in there, and eventually, when we had enough healers in the guild, I was able to take breaks here and there and just start... Oh, hello, Rare. And just, start gearing him up in there. Ended up getting a lot of the Beastmaster set, and eventually the Onyxia scale cape, so I could start running Nefarian later on. I'm one of those weird hoarders too, by the way. There's a Paladin quest from vanilla that gives you this item, some sort of shard or something, and if you... It's a one-time use item. You break it, and it causes you to do a bunch of extra damage, I believe, and gain a bunch of extra strength and whatnot. And I have never, ever used the item straight from vanilla, and it's still sitting in my bank to this day. Thinking of doing a WoW video later on at some point, just a recorded one and uploading it later about all the weird vanilla stuff I've got. On both my Priest and my Hunter, I ended up doing both of those really difficult quest chains that started from, I can't remember his name, Major Domo Executus in Molten Core, the one where you get the Priest item, Anathema and Benediction, and also the epic Staff and Bow, Rockdalar and Lockdalar for my Hunter. And man, those two quest chains were, one, really freaking difficult, but two, like, some of the most enjoyable experiences I've ever had in WoW. And that's something I really, really wished they would bring back in later expansions, but they kind of mostly stuck around doing daily quest stuff and a few random events. The odd class quest got trimmed later on, like you no longer had to swim all around the world and stuff to get your sea lion form as a druid and whatnot. So they were kind of making the game more accessible, but I can understand that too, as some stuff was a little bit unnecessary. Trying to get your totems and whatnot for a shaman. Another thing that made Vanilla WoW really fun in my eyes back in the day was a lot of the user-created content, as you could say. Like South Shore versus Tar and Mill on pretty much any server you can think of. And occasionally somebody would just say in chat that they're organizing a big raid on like the Crossroads or something like that. And where the heck did my imp go? And back then there wasn't a leash on half the really powerful elite rare mobs out there like Teramis the Devourer or Kazak. Cutting them around and taking them to Stormwind was utter chaos. Yeah, they had to usually get a GM to step in and despawn whatever it was that I kited the town after a day, but I think that created more good memories than bad memories, because so many people would be following me as I kited around these world boss type creatures and just joining in the fun, and everyone would be whispering me that they'd had an awesome time just trying to take down these creatures. And yeah, like just random stuff like that. I even used to go to Blasted Lands to grab those invincible mobs, the servants of Grawl and Razalik and whatnot, and I'd either take them straight to Bolvar Fordragon in Stormwind, and they could never be killed, and you'd see half the city trying to help save Bolvar, or maybe I'd take them along with a friend. We'd start cutting them to Booty Bay. One time we kited a whole bunch of them to Booty Bay and watched them just slaughter everyone in town. And, well, it was a little late, so we decided to hit the hay, go to bed. Next morning, we logged in, and Booty Bay was just a ghost town. There were skeletons everywhere. I think there wasn't a single piece of boardwalk that was visible. It was all skeletons. Those servants just decimated the whole town, and it was one of the most fun encounters I've ever had in the game. Just safe something travels. User created. It's always been fun.
Farewell.
It kind of made me sad when Blizzard decided to start making some server altering content kind of disappear. Like they no longer do those big end of expansion, pre-expansion events that kind of cause havoc across the world, like when the Scourge was invading the whole world and people were becoming ghouls, and you could infect other people. Like after 10 minutes, your infection turned you into a ghoul, and you could infect other players, and it was utter chaos. And similar to the corrupted blood incident from Zul'Gurub, people were either forming these refugee camps in the hopes of healing people outside of the major cities, or you'd see roving bands of the ghouls going out there and just causing chaos and killing people left, right, and center and creating more ghouls. Unlike the corrupted blood incident of Zul'Gurub, with the corrupted blood you could cleanse it easily if you had any character that could cleanse it. But with the Scourge incident, that was so difficult to cleanse that even a max level of the time, it would fail most of the time trying to cleanse it. The only guarantee was to go to one of the rare Argent healers that showed up on occasion. But I really miss world content like that. It's kind of sad that it did get a bad in some cases where it kind of just ruined questing for some people. There'd be no quest givers alive for you to take quests from or return a quest to, and yeah, I could see that definitely harming your game experience, but at the same time, the amount of joy it brought for most other people who were just enjoying this once-in-a-lifetime experience, I think I'd rather take the once-in-a-lifetime experience over losing a little bit of questing time. I find that always to be more engaging. I always wondered, with the zone next to Duskwood, the one with Karazhan, I always wondered if they'd ever do anything at that zone. It was so barren for the longest time in vanilla. But it had so much lore with Medivh's tower there. And just the random camps that you saw abandoned out there. And I think there was some lore in Duskwood that mentioned that the Dark Riders always returned to that area. Ah yes, Deadwind Pass, that's what it's called. But Karazhan, that was one of my all-time favorite raids. Not just for the lore, but just how fun it was, and so interesting with events like the opera event. You never knew which one you were going to get, but it was always entertaining. Yeah, I think I'll head in here, and while I'm out of line of sight of some mobs, I think it's time I'll equip a bunch of heirlooms for the heck of it. I think I'll go with haste, mostly if I can help it. Haven't been on Icy Veins or Noxic or something to figure out what's the best, but that's more for endgame anyways, so I'm just leveling up for fun here. I think haste affects how fast my my dots will hit for, like how fast they'll activate, I mean. Correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, what do I need yet? My necklace. Ring. Yeah, pull that too. Did I miss anything? There we go.
I'm listening. Beware the living.
If you don't have either the Traveler's Tundra Mammoth or this Expedition mount, I highly recommend picking one up. The Mammoth is far more affordable with only, I think, 20k for the price.
Many farewells.
This one I think was 100k, but they are very, very handy. They can act as repair bots if you're in any kind of raid or dungeon that allows mounts, and it's very handy just on the fly. And this one comes with the transmogrifier as well. Used to be the the Reforger, but then Blizzard got rid of reforging. But I hear it's making a sort of comeback in Battle for Azeroth. I haven't really looked into the details, but I did read several headlines that said they're bringing back reforging in a limited extent. And with Battle for Azeroth, it's about time they brought Kulturas. People have wondered about Kulturas for a long time. It's been around since the RTS games, and people wondered where it was when they brought out Barradin Hold, Barradin Keep, because Barradin, according to the lore, is overseen by the Kultirans. Obviously, that fell to the wayside as the raid dungeon. It was very much in ruins, and it looked like there wasn't really anyone properly guarding it anymore. So I think the Kultirans kind of gave up on the place. Also, if anyone has any suggestions who's watching now or at some point in the future when this is uploaded as an archived video, if you have any other games that I might own that you'd like to see me play in the future, just either as a live stream or just random gameplay footage recorded at some point and uploaded later, just let me know. Drop it into the comments section there. Been gaming, like I said, for a long time. I picked up Steam when it was required for Half-Life 2 back in the day, and I already started uploading a lot of my original library, and got about only 121 or so games on Steam. Don't have a massive collection, but got a lot of classics and a few series, like, say, BioShock and whatnot. Or if you want to see some reaction games and stuff like Amnesia, The Dark Descent, if you want to watch me play that in the dark or something, scare the piss out of myself. Man, I love the Lucid Nightmare. So awesome looking. Maybe I'll add a few more of my toys to the side screen here, and spruce, like, make things a little more interesting. Like, unleash the Murlocs! Cutest stampede ever. Rainbows. Maybe I shouldn't use it on a mob that's gonna hit me. Waste of a cooldown. One quality of life thing I'm glad they got rid of from Vanilla WoW is a lot of the stuff that took up massive amounts of inventory space, like the Warlock soul shards or hunter ammunition. Although I don't know for certain, but I don't think mages can conjure up those mana gems anymore for a little bit of boosted damage, I think it was. A little bit of boosted intellect. Not that that took up much space, it was only one item. I think Warlocks had a few other things like a fire orb or a shadow orb.
Light be with you. Be careful. Need help? Greetings. For the Alliance.
Anyone planning on playing the classic servers when they drop? And if you are you planning on just kind of popping in occasionally for a little bit of a nostalgia trip, or are you thinking of just going whole hog and getting yourself right up to a rating level, start off in Molten Core and a Nixia's Lair and whatnot, and go from there? Back in the day when I raided, I was just single bachelor with a lot of spare time, and the second I got home from work I'd fire up supper and pop that on my desk, and I'd immediately hop into my raid, which was already forming, as I'm mountain time in Canada, and most people that I raided with were Atlantic coast of the United States and whatnot. So they were already itching to go, and by the time we'd be done the raid, it'd be close to midnight. These days, married and have a kid, and don't quite have that kind of time for me anymore for gaming, but I might still give vanilla a try and maybe just focus on one single character instead of several like I did back in the day.
Hello.
I used to dread questing in the graveyard area when I was just getting to this zone, and I might not have had the best gear. The zombies there were so densely packed together, and they seemed to respawn so quick. If you weren't careful, you'd get overwhelmed. And some of those zombies, ghouls or whatever, when you killed them, they dropped a whole bunch of little worms that would just start ganging up on you, and I didn't have any AoE of any kind at the time that I'm aware of, unless I just hadn't picked a talent. So those things whittled down my health pretty quick if I wasn't careful. That particular mob I tended to avoid if I had a choice. These days you don't really have to worry about that kind of thing. Pretty much every class has an AoE of some sort, and the gearing, the numbers are geared a lot different. Players, even without heirlooms, seem to overpower the mobs in the game pretty easily. Whereas back then, you'd almost need a health and mana potion and or food water just to refresh yourself after only 1 or 2 kills, if you were questing in an area that was about appropriate level. One of my favorite zones from back in the day was, before it had more stuff added to it, late in vanilla, was Silithus. I always just found it to be a really interesting zone, and full of just super tough bugs if you went into any of the 3 hives there. And yeah, there wasn't much to do, but there were mobs in the northwest that you could grind Hydraxian rep for, so I came there a lot when I was trying to get my Eternal Aqua Quintessence, I think it was called, for dousing the runes in Molten Core. I didn't like having that one-shot one, and if not enough people in the raid had it, the whole raid kind of ground to a halt until somebody got out there and grabbed one by means of long wait time. Alright, what am I missing here? Mages. Not too many of you. I'm also glad that not too many mobs have super low quest drop rates. Nothing like killing, say, 20 coyotes and getting a single tooth when you're trying to find 50 teeth or something. Always wondered how killing 20 coyotes, then they had almost no teeth. Another thing it's probably good that they got rid of for quality of life is having to level up particular weapon skills. Like, hey, I got a new sword, but my sword skill is 1. I'm gonna have to go practice on low-level mobs until I can actually use it. I never did get the Legacy achievement for leveling up a whole bunch of those weapon skills. I just got the Knuckle Sandwich one for leveling up my unarmed skill to whatever it was, 400 or something. 500 maybe. There's an AFK person getting wailed on. Nope, not AFK. We're just high enough level that there's no damage being taken. The mobs in this cave used to respawn really fast, and it could get really dangerous if you were in there solo. Well, hopefully there's enough Nightbane Tainted ones to kill in here. I'll just tag a couple so I at least get credit. This cave is a limited amount. Well, I shouldn't get in over my head. Maybe I'll finally create a health zone. Alright. Time to wait for a couple more tainted ones. I could have sworn some of them spawned to the west of here a bit as well. But I think they spawned fast enough, I just stay here. Questing goes so much faster than it used to. I think mob spawn times were a lot slower back in the day. Regardless of how many people were in the zone, it was still pretty slow. Well, completed a bunch of quests, now let's celebrate by setting myself on fire. I just needed an excuse to use this toy. Why?
Need help? Have a good one.
Hey there. You need something? See you later.
Yeah, now I'll use my rainbow generator. Never mind, it decided to not work. I don't know why that's a little bit glitchy at times.
You need something? Can I help you?
It'll most definitely work when on someone you're partied with, but it doesn't always work on other people. Not sure why.
Well met. Go with honor, friend.
Greetings. Have a good one.
I see my frame rate's been okay. I've seen it go anywhere from mid-80s to somewhere in the low 200s. Maybe I'll set things up a little bit higher. I've got most things on high. A few things on ultra high, but not everything. Might be better off keeping it like this, though. Don't like having a stream get too choppy. Had to pick up a new computer recently, actually. My old one is a really compact unit, an ROG G20 from the Republic of Gamers. It's a great computer, but it burned out 2 separate video cards in the course of just a couple years. Mostly overheating issues inside that really tiny case. It's actually my backup computer at the moment. I threw a new video card in it and decided I'd ventilate the side of the case a little better. I added a vent to the side right next to the GPU, and it's been working fine ever since, but the video card that's in it now is not quite up to snuff for a few of the games I'm planning on streaming or recording, so what the heck, a new computer was in the books anyways.
Greetings. Be careful.
The whole quest surrounding Stalvin Mistmantle here kind of took you around a little bit of Eastern Kingdoms into Westfall and up north and through Stormwind, I believe, doing a bunch of information digging. And here's some dead Dark Riders. Must be someone doing their artifact quest of some kind. But the whole thing with Stalvin Mistmantle, it's kind of a sad and disturbing story at the same time. The gist of it is he was basically in love with a young girl he was tutoring, and she had a suitor. And, well, if he couldn't have her, no one could. Bit of a degenerate. And then when they added the Gilneans, it kind of changed up his family history a little bit here with Tobias Mistmantle. And it turns out Stalvin didn't die, I guess, in vanilla. Funny how Blizzard likes to do that. Make characters that we believed were dead a long time ago just come back. Tempest Keep was just a setback.
What can I do for you? We are bound by a common enemy.
And I think they just wanted an excuse to bring Illidan back.
Many deals for a friend of the Grummels, like you. May your feet find good trails.
Alrighty. Yeah, now that whole fight with Stitches, I think it's instanced or whatever. It's in its own little shard, and it's kind of just an event for whatever players are on the quest at the time. I don't know if Stitches actually travels the road anymore and tries to kill people. Even if he did, I'm sure he'd get taken out real quick by the overpowered players we have these days. Once I finish my playthrough, my Let's Play of Half-Life 1, thinking of playing another old classic game, System Shock 2. I'd pretty much call it the great granddaddy of first-person shooter role-playing games. I think only a year later, the original Deus Ex came out and kind of perfected it. But System Shock, yeah, that one has a near and dear place in my heart, and it's also just got a heck of a story and quite atmospheric with a few pretty spooky moments, maybe even jump scares in it. Sorta. Wouldn't call it a horror game at all, just a little bit of a suspense action RPG.
You wouldn't want to see me when I'm angry.
Anytime I've played on a PvP server, I've always dreaded having to go into Stranglethorn Vale later, right after I was done Duskwood. Especially with Horde having, I think it's Gromgal base, whatever they call it over there, made questing in the northern end pretty harrowing. It wasn't even any safer once you got the Booty Bay. Found myself getting ganked on the road left, right, and center. I may have dreaded it, but that's half the fun of a PvP server though, am I right?
What's your story?
Another thing I don't really miss about Vanilla WoW, but it was engaging because it brought a lot of the player base together, though, was having to actually travel to your battleground portal, those red portals. But of course you found your your battleground vendors there for the appropriate rep. And some of those reps were time-consuming, like Warsong Gulch. I don't think I ever got beyond Honored, same with Arathi Basin. But my favorite battleground of the original 3 was Alterac Valley. Just, man, getting stuck in one of those for most of a day, going to bed and then coming in the next morning and finding out that the exact same battleground is still running. So you hop in and play it some more. Like, one particular Alterac Valley could be running for more than 48 hours. Mainly because there were no mechanics for ending it fast, like the resource meter and whatnot. It wasn't until one of the generals at the end died. I did hit Exalted with that rep, though. Picked up a few things. Trinkets and whatnot, and the unbreakable object and the immovable object and the unstoppable force, whatever they were called again. And my, of course, Alterac Valley Ram. I used that forever. I don't have the world's biggest mount collection. I've got about 200 mounts total. I just hit that recently since I returned to the game. I mostly go after some of the more exotic looking ones. Like, I leveled up Rep with the Klaxi so I could get the Amber Scorpion. I always thought that one was really neat looking. And for that limited time event where you could get the Corehound mount, of course I had to go and do that. Farmed a few times to get the Flame Talon of Alizrazar. Alice Razor, whatever it's called. I still haven't gotten Anzu, though. That blue variant of this mount. My engineering chopper from, I think, Burning Crusade. Mists of Pandaria Sky Golem. Expensive to make at the time. My Traveler's Tundra Mammoth. Couple Gronlings. My Guild Dark Phoenix. Never did collect the Dreadsteed in Vanilla. I collected it later on in Burning Crusade, as I never had a level 60 Warlock for the longest time. I did go out of my way for the Firelands to get the Flameward Hippogriff. Thought it was pretty neat looking. I always kind of liked the look of this Grand Armored Griffin. Pretty much anyone could get it if you're just exalted with Operation Shield Wall, which I think a lot of people were. But I just think it's a very elegant looking Griffin. And if only I could have become Scarab Lord and gotten the black battle tank. That would have been quite something. That event was phenomenal. The whole server, Horde and Alliance, working together to try and open up the Gate Sand Courage. And of course the massive lag fest beforehand with the whole invasion of the Karaji all the way up to Tanaris, I think. I think half the time if you hopped on a boat from the Eastern Kingdoms to head over there to like Theramore or something, you'd end up with your boat glitching into the Stone Talon Mountains, and then your game client would crash, and when you reload, you're somewhere in Ironforge. Yeah, Vanilla WoW wasn't the most stable game, but it still was one of my all-time favorite games to play back then. Still is a great game to play to this day. Well, just for a little fair warning, once I complete this quest, I'll probably head back to town and start getting ready to shut this stream down for the night. My very first stream, just wanted to give it a try and see how it goes and see what people think of it and if they have any suggestions for later. Yeah, let me know also if there's any particular topics you'd like me to talk about in a later video. Or any particular zones that you really like and you'd like to see me quest there, get my perspective of it. When did it start raining? Oh, I botched my teleport. Couldn't see what I was doing. I think my teleport actually got stuck in the fence. And I may as well go pick up my flight point at the graveyard if I don't already have it. Not sure what these allied races get unlocked right away for mounts. And one thing that's really handy, if you don't know, go to the heirloom vendor in Ironforge or whatever respective Horde side one, and if you've purchased, I think if you've purchased enough heirlooms, you unlock some books that basically give you a whole bunch of flight points. I can't remember exactly what they're called. Oh, I'm in my heirlooms, not my toys. Yeah, in your toy section, you'll get these toys that automatically make you learn. I guess I've already learned everything from that book. Yeah, they sell 2 books that unlock the bulk of the flight points from both Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor. I've noticed it's not all of them, but it's the bulk of them, which will definitely be able to let you get around at the very beginning pretty easily. Another reason leveling took a really long time in WoW Vanilla, I see I don't have this flight point, was the fact that no one got mounts until level 40 for a 60% speed mount.
Long live Greymane.
60% speed increase mount, I should say. And it wasn't until you were level 60 that you could get the 100%, but I highly doubt you were able to afford it that early in the game, like the second you hit level 60, unless you were very lucky or you were bankrolled by someone else or one of your alts. So having to walk everywhere around the world just made you take in more of the world, but also really slowed everything down. But yeah, I suppose the old saying, like, stop and smell the roses, like, you know, take in your surroundings, enjoy the game. These days everyone just uses a flying mount and just zips over top of everything and pass over all these neat little lore areas. Alrighty, turn in a couple quests, get all set for my next session, and I do believe I'll be calling it a night here in just a minute or two.
Be careful.
Also, let me know if there's any particular length of stream time that you'd like. Was I too short for everyone? Is this about right? Do you want me to stop and read quest text more if you're interested?
Hello. See you later.
Well, on my way to the inn here to log out. I thank everyone very much for tuning in. Anyone who's watching this later on, archived in the future, and it's been fun. I hope you've all had fun too, and hate to say a really cliched YouTube thing here as I'm brand new, only 3 days old with my channel, but please, if you enjoyed, like and subscribe if you'd like to see more of this in the future, or if you'd be interested in some of my Let's Plays I'm planning on doing. I may do an intro video to my channel later on, just to show people what kind of games I have available in my Steam library, or ones that aren't available on Steam that are too old or such, and I'll let people just kind of make some suggestions. Until then, everyone, have a good night. It's nighttime when I'm playing right now, and everyone take care. I'll see you around later on.